think we're right, yeah?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we're live. Over to you. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome councillors, executive leadership team, community members and council staff to tonight's ordinary council meeting. My name is Councillor Leslie Hewitt and I'm the Mayor of the Hepburn Shire Council. We would like to acknowledge we're meeting on Jara people country, of which members and elders of the Dja Dja Wurrung community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries. On this land, the Jara people have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. As we're undertaking this meeting virtually, I will read on behalf of my councillor colleagues the councillor statement of commitment to prevent any audio feedback occurring. Statement of commitment. We, the councillors of Hepburn Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interests of the community and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us, this council, by the people of Hepburn Shire. Council continues to be guided by the government directives and wants to do the right thing for the health of our community during COVID-19 pandemic. In line with these directives, this meeting is being conducted virtually. In the spirit of open, transparent and accountable governance, this ordinary council meeting is being live streamed on council Facebook page, and you will be able to view the proceedings of the meeting, councillor deliberations and voting. The meeting is also being recorded and will be made available on the council website as soon as practicable after the meeting. Pursuant to the ministerial guidelines, should technology problems be encountered by the council where there is an inability to be able to broadcast this meeting to the public, then the meeting must be adjourned until resolution or it must be postponed. Council's meeting tonight will be conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, the COVID-19 Omnibus Amendment, Emergency Measures Act 2020, the Minister's Good Practice Guideline, MGPG1, virtual meetings, Councillor Governance Rules, and the Hepburn Shire Councillor Code of Conduct. The priority for Council was to continue to allow for the opportunity for our community to engage with Council via public participation time. We acknowledge that to continue to protect the health and well-being of our staff and the community, public questions will be read by me and those addressing Council will join us via Zoom. For tonight's meeting, Council received 4 public questions and 2 requests to address Council. In accordance with Chapter 6, Section 3 of our governance rules, a person, including any representative of the media, must not operate photographic, audio or video recording equipment or any other recording device at any council meeting without first obtaining the consent of the chairperson. And at this point, no one has requested that they would like to record the meeting. Permission does need to be sought if someone wants to take that footage and use it or broadcast it. I also remind everyone that local government decision making, unlike state and federal government, does not afford the benefit of parliamentary privilege, and hence no protection is offered to either councillors and council officers for comments made during meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be slanderous. As this meeting is being conducted virtually in accordance with the ministerial guidelines, councillors are required to advise individually whether they can hear the proceedings and hear their other councillor colleagues, and that they can be heard by their councillor colleagues, and also that they can see their councillor colleagues and be seen by others. I will confirm to each councillor whether they can be heard. Councillor Bray, I will start with you. Councillor Bray, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can confirm I can see my fellow colleagues and I can hear proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Drylee, can you please confirm that you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
Madam Mayor, I can see proceedings and hear all my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Dryly, and I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Simpson. Councillor Simpson, can you please confirm that you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
Madam Mayor, I can see proceedings and hear my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Hood, can you please confirm that you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can hear and see everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Henderson, can you please confirm that you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues? Councillor Henderson, you're muted.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can both see and hear all of my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. And Councillor Halliday, could you please confirm that you can hear proceedings and see and hear all of your colleagues?
Madam Mayor, yes, I can hear proceedings and I can see and hear all of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday, and I can confirm that I can see and hear you. I confirm that I can see and hear all of my councillor colleagues. Are there any apologies? No. I would now also like to introduce councillor officers who are present in this council meeting. Mr. Bradley Thomas, our Interim Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Andrew Burgess, the Acting Director of Corporate and Community Services, Mr. Bruce Lucas, the Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, and Mr. Chris White, our ICT Manager. Also, Ms. Kristen Fort, Manager of Governance and Risk. As required at any other meeting of council, councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when the item is presented to council. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return when the item has been resolved. At any point throughout the meeting, if any other councillor recognises that they have an indirect or direct interest, they can flag that at that point and follow the same procedure. Councillors, I now ask if any councillor has a conflict of interest to declare. If there are any conflicts of interest to declare, may I ask councillors to state what provision of the Act their conflict of interest satisfies and the item or the agenda that they have a conflict of interest in. Councillors, does anyone have any conflict of interest to declare? No, thank you, councillors. Officers that are present, I now ask whether you have a conflict of interest in any item presented before council tonight. Mr. Bradley Thomas, our Interim Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do not have any conflicts of interest for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Andrew Burgess, the Acting Director of Corporate and Community Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do not have any conflicts of interest on any item tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Mr. Bruce Lucas, Director of Infrastructure and Development Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I can also confirm that I have no conflicts of interest on any of the proceedings tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Mr. Chris White, ICT Manager.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I do not have any conflicts of interest in any items presented by council tonight.
Thank you, Mr. White. Ms. Kristen Fort, Manager of Governance and Risk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any conflicts of interest on any items tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Fort. Now we're moving on. Councillor Halliday? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to propose a change to the order of business as listed in the agenda papers published for this meeting. The intention is to bring forward the public participation time after council considers the confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting.
Do you have a motion, Councillor Halliday?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, Madam Mayor. That council move the order of business to be as follows. Item 5, confirmation of minutes. Item 6, public participation time. Item 7, notice of motion. Item 8, items of urgent business. and item 9, councillor and CEO reports, and the remaining order of business to be undertaken in line with the published agenda recommencing at item 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
You've got a second.
So moved Councillor Halliday, seconded Councillor Henderson. Councillors, I put this motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. So I'll read that out. Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Dryeley, Councillor Halliday, and myself. So I declare that the motion was carried unanimously. We'll now move to item 5 of the agenda. I have a recommendation before us to adopt the meeting minutes from the previous council meetings. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 22nd of December 2020 and the special meeting of council held on the 19th of January 2021, as previously circulated to councillors, be confirmed. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Henderson moves the motion. Councillor Hood is the seconder. Councillor Henderson, do you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Hood? Anyone want to speak against the motion? In which case I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Those who are voting in favour of the motion, Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Dryeley, Councillor Halliday, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. So I declare the motion passed. We'll now move to public participation time, which is item 10 on the item 9, sorry, on the agenda. 9.1. We have no petitions received by this morning. Item 9.2. I will read out and respond to the 4 questions received in the council governance rules. The first question comes from Miss Margaret Lockwood and relates to the on-site water waste treatment systems at Glen Lyon. Miss Lockwood's question is, can the Hepburn Shire outline its monitoring procedures for online wastewater treatment system since 2014, apart from A, trusting that the property owners will comply with their responsibilities, and B, reports from neighbours complaining of nuisance relating to the Public Health and Wellbeing Act 2008. Thank you, Ms Lockwood, for your question. Council response is that the 2014 Domestic Wastewater Management Plan, DWMP, is currently under review, with a revised DWMP to be delivered this year. The guiding legislation, which is Victoria's Environment Protection Act 1970, has also been amended, with the new act to come into force on the 1st of July 2021. This new act includes strengthening of laws relating maintenance of on-site wastewater treatment systems, including the responsibility of property owners. The monitoring of on-site wastewater management systems under the 2014 DWMP in the Shire includes 1. Random audits of identified high-risk systems. There have been approximately 800 audits have been completed in this time. 2. Receiving and inputting data into council database regarding system maintenance inspections from the home owners and service contractor. 3. The follow-up of homeowners where service contractor advises of owner ending contract for servicing. And 4. Updating council's database of old hard copy permit records into council's data management system. Thank you, Ms Lockwood. Our second question also comes from Ms Margaret Lockwood, who states and asks, the current and proposed new Hepburn Shire Council planning scheme will allow the infill of the Glen Lyon town zone with up to 180 lots that are currently vacant or used as farmland. Can the Hepburn Shire Council guarantee that without installing a town sewage system and by relying on property owners taking responsibility for a further 180 unmonitored OWTS, risks to public health, the environment, the economy and legal risks can be properly addressed. Council response is as follows. Council and responsible referral authorities have a number of systems and processes in place to assess and mitigate known risks. Hepburn Shire Council is currently in the process of reviewing its domestic wastewater plan, which is the agreed wastewater management plan between council and water authorities. The domestic wastewater plan, combined with the strengthening of the Environmental Protection Act and the requirement that all planning permits within this area are referred to the relevant water authority, appropriately manages and attempts to mitigate risk. Thank you very much, Ms. Lockwood, for your questions. Our next question is from Mr. John Peace, as follows. There has been no consultation with the Glenlyon community as to the suitability of the proposed location of the Public Art Commission for the town. There is no evidence that proper investigation has been undertaken to understand the impacts of locating a large permanent public artwork at the Glenlyon Dam, a historically and environmentally significant year-round water source where public safety concerns exist. There is no infrastructure existing to support visitors. Accessibility is difficult for many members of the community because of the terrain and dangers, including drowning, and interference to and risk posed by both and to visitors, heavy vehicles and workers associated with the CFAs and council's own operations associated with the site. Does council agree that Site A, the Glenlyon Mineral Springs in Sutton Lane, proposed in the expression of interest for the Glenlyon Public Art Project 2020-2021, avoids these issues and is a more suitable site for the location of the sculpture in keeping with the needs of the community? Thank you, Mr. Pearce, for your question. The answer is council believes the allocated site is appropriate, safe, and that the public artwork will enhance the Glenlyon Dam. 4 possible sites were presented at an information session hosted by council at the Glenlyon Recreation Reserve, held on Saturday the 30th of November 2019. All proposed sites were made available to the community and the expression of interest process for public art acquisitions was explained at this community information session. No objections either on the day or post-event were received as to possible sites. As per the EOI process, the artist nominates the site for the artwork, and the recommendation from the Public Art Advisory Committee was that the sculpture by Yu Feng Chi be awarded the commission for installation at the Glenlyon Dam. Mr. John Peace has submitted our final question, and this is, acknowledging the versatility of the winning design of the Glenlyon Public Art Commission, as evidenced by the artist also submitting the same design, the drop, to the Melbourne City Council Test Sites Public Art Program in May 2020, does the council agree that the proposed artwork is not site-specific and therefore should be installed where it would be best suited in the Glenlyon community at the Mineral Springs site that helped to inspire it in keeping with the Shire's public art policy? Thank you, Mr. Peace, for your question. The chosen artist Yu Feng Chi's inspiration came from spending time within Glenlyon and visiting all 4 sites. The artist's concept was specifically designed for Glenlyon and notes the importance of water to leisure, the mineral springs themselves, and the connection to community life in Glenlyon. The Glenlyon Dam was nominated as the artist's preferred site and was the recommendation of the Public Art Advisory Committee adopted by council. The reference to the City of Melbourne Public Art Program is not for an art commission. It is for a program called Testing Ground that assists artists in developing their skills in public art commission. Council notes that the artist has advised that her submission of the concept as part of Testing Ground occurred after the Glenlyon Public Art submission. Furthermore, the City of Melbourne promote the artist's work on their website as a platform to promote both artists and their works to other institutions or companies to create more opportunities for the program's participants. Thank you, Mr. Peace, for your questions. Thank you both residents for taking the time to give questions to Council. Our next item is request to address Council, and we have two requests for that. And I would like now to invite Nevena Spirovska, the co-convener of the Victorian Pride Lobby, who wants to talk to Council about the notice of motion to establish an LGBTIQA+ advisory committee. Is Nevena Spirovska available?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just let Nevena intervene.
Thank you and welcome, Nevena Spirovska. Over to you.
Thank you very much and appreciate you having me this evening. My name is Nevena and I'm the co-convener of the Victorian Pride Lobby. We're a community-based advocacy group that works towards equality, social justice and advancing the human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer and same-sex attracted Victorians. You'll probably know us from our award-winning campaign, Rainbow Local Government, and we thank some of the councillors tonight for pledging your support to the LGBTIQA+ community here in Hepburn. The lobby represents over 1,100 residents, or approximately 7.5% of the population that identify as part of our community. And it's no wonder that so many regard Daylesford as one of the gay capitals of Victoria. And it is the broader Hepburn Shire is first and foremost a second home for many folks in our community and a very proud rainbow location. Nevertheless, it's sadly still that homophobia persists to this very day. A local resident, Natasha, said she overheard a neighbour say that all gay people should be left on an island to starve. Another resident, Sarah, said her gay son had to complete his schooling in Melbourne, having suffered both verbal and physical homophobic abuse from peers at school and their parents. Another local resident, Daniel, says there's a great opportunity to put some stronger, more impactful messages to the community. So we at the lobby welcome the proposal to approve the establishment of the LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee. This will, if passed, show that Hepburn is an inclusive council that welcomes and celebrates the diversity and it supports the LGBTIQA+ residents equally. For the committee to succeed, it needs to be financially sound. The proposed motion includes a request for a report to come back to council that will provide information on budget allocation requirements, which will ensure that the impact on staff, budget and finances are taken into account and reported. And for this committee to have a real impact, it needs focus areas. The proposed motion will enable the committee to examine LGBTIQA+ issues in the Shire, such as an LGBTIQA+ action plan, the possibility of rainbow tick accreditation, and what more can be done to ensure the Shire is inclusive, so that council can make informed decisions on these, taking into account the views of the affected community alongside financial and other resource implications. The committee also offers an important and direct link to council and the LGBTIQA+ community on issues that we face and free expertise to inform council decisions. In summary, we feel it's very important that this motion is passed at the council meeting within its budget and not delayed. If passed, Hepburn can be leading and driving force for the LGBTIQA+ equality in regional Victoria, and as a council that stands up for the LGBTIQA+ community and continues to uphold its rainbow reputation. Our community is watching on, and we hope that you will support us tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Spirovska. Now, Belinda Brain from Sunbury and Cobble Community Health Centre has also requested to speak to Council tonight. Is Belinda Brain available?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I'll just let Belinda into the room.
Hello and welcome, Belinda Brain, and thank you for coming to speak to Council tonight. When you're ready, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Belinda Brain. I'm a 10-year resident of Musk, a previous president of Chill Out Daylesford, a volunteer with Chill Out's Raising Rainbow initiative, which supports LGBTIQA+ young people to feel safe and valued. And I'm a social worker working within community health, striving to achieve better health, mental health and wellbeing outcomes for LGBTIQA+ people. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I welcome the proposal to establish an LGBTIQA+ advisory committee in the Hepburn Shire. A couple of years ago, I sat in an LGBTIQA+ workshop with Bradley Thomas, and at that time I began to pester him to consider the establishment of an advisory committee at Hepburn Shire. Bradley promised to follow up on the request and to explore at that time what it might take to establish such a committee, work which I'm certain he has already completed. This Shire is ready. Not surprisingly, the Rainbow Pledge campaign and identifying the candidates that had pledged in my ward was an important consideration for me when deciding and casting my vote in recent council elections. The work of an LGBTIQ advisory committee is crucial, and its impact and reach is very likely to be life-saving. For council to succeed, it must listen to the voices of and work in concert with LGBTIQA local residents and business owners and make room to respond to LGBTIQA+ issues to achieve great outcomes. A prime example of listening to community was the establishment of the LGBTIQA+ steering group running at Mount Alexander Shire, which came as a consequence of a poorly managed request by community to council to fly the pride flag in recognition of the difficult times being experienced by the LGBTIQ community during the marriage equality debate. I am a member of this steering committee and have been since its inception. To date, the Hepburn Shire has been a great ally to the LGBTIQA+ community. However, the capacity to show great leadership in this space still exists. Thank you to all of the councillors who have signed the Rainbow Pledge and to those of you who are actively supporting the LGBTIQ community. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda Brain, for speaking to us tonight. We appreciate both of you attending and talking to us on this motion, historic motion. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move to section 6 of the agenda. We're resuming the normal, the published agenda. Item 6.1, LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee. The notice of motion was put forward by Councillor Tessa Halliday on the 5th of February 2021, and this was accepted by the Interim Chief Executive Officer in line with Council's governance rules on the 5th of February 2021. The motion that Council 1 approve the establishment of an LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee of Council, and the request that a report be presented back to Council providing the terms of reference, membership composition, timeline, budget allocation requirement, and other governance details relating to the functioning of the Advisory Committee, and 2, refer to the LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee for consideration of such matters as A, achieving the Rainbow Tick accreditation for all council-run services, and B, the development and implementation of the LGBTIQA+ action plan, and C, LGBTIQA+ inclusion throughout the Shire. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move that motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I have Councillor Halliday as the mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson, thank you. Councillor Hood?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment to that motion, if I may.
Yes,
And the amended motion is that council, in support of the LGBTIQA+ community, requests the Chief Executive to prepare a report that considers the establishment of an LGBTIQA advisory committee of council, and requests that a report be presented back to council for consideration in its 21-22 budgeting, and to provide the terms of reference, membership composition, timeline, budget allocation requirement, and any other governance details relating to the functioning of the advisory committee, so as to allow council to undertake its due diligence in its establishment.
thank you, Councillor. Councillor Halliday, do you accept that amendment?
I do accept that amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, then that motion then becomes the motion before council, moved by Councillor Halliday. Councillor Halliday, do you want to speak for the motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank Nevena and Belinda for speaking tonight in support of the motion. Your courage is really appreciated and seen, so thank you so much. This motion is an important step towards acceptance of the LGBTIQA people in our community. People who identify as LGBTIQA+ are a vulnerable and disadvantaged minority group who make up 15% of our population. It is important to note that parents of LGBTIQA children and children of LGBTIQA parents are not included in this statistic, but are similarly impacted. I would therefore estimate the level of impact is much higher and could be closer to 30% of our population. The intention is for the proposed LGBTIQA+ advisory committee to examine issues in the Shire, such as Rainbow Tick and an LGBTIQA+ action plan, and what more can be done to ensure that the Shire is inclusive, accepting and tolerant, and report back to council on this so that the council can make informed decisions on these matters, taking into account the views of the affected community alongside consideration of financial and other resource implications. I would like to advise everyone that I have agreed to the alternate motion to ensure that the governance, risk and budgeting implications can be reviewed prior to the establishment of the advisory committee. So the change to the motion doesn't mean that it won't be approved. It just means we're taking a little bit of extra time to do our due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday. Councillor Hood, do you want to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just add that I also believe that it's critically important that council has processes in place to deal with all sections of the community, and particularly those that are in any way vulnerable or disadvantaged. So I think this is a step in the right direction to ensure that we make the most efficient, effective and responsible decision going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Does anyone else want to speak in favour of the motion?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Just for confirmation purposes through you, do you mind if we just have Councillor Hood repeat the motion so we have, from a governance perspective, the right wording to propose and record?
Certainly. Councillor Hood.
Thank you.
Thank you. That council, in support of the LGBTIQA+ community, requests the Chief Executive to prepare a report that considers the establishment of an LGBTIQA advisory committee of council, and requests that a report be presented back to council for consideration in its 21-22 budgeting, and provides the terms of reference, membership composition, timeline, budget allocation requirement, and any other governance details relating to the functioning of the advisory committee, so as to allow council to undertake due diligence in its establishment.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. That Ms. Fort, is that fine? Does anyone, any of the other councillors wish to speak in favour of the motion? Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? No, then I'll put the motion as read by Councillor Hood. All those in favour, raise your hand. So those voting in favour are Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Dryeley, Councillor Simpson, and myself, Councillor Hewitt, in which case I declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Halliday and Councillor Hood for your input on this. When moving to the next item, there are no items of urgent business, so we move to the presentation of councillor reports. Item 9.1 is the Mayor's report. I'd just like to report that during the past, since the last council meeting, we've had the Australia Day Eve civic ceremony, and I'd like to take this opportunity to once again congratulate to recognise that Australia Day is a difficult time for members of our community, our Aboriginal community, the Judja Wurrung and other people of Aboriginal descent, and it's an important time to reflect on what the event means to them, whilst at the same time we take the opportunity to acknowledge the community spirit that exists in this shire and to recognise those citizens who throughout the year have contributed to that. And I point out Mr. Philip Greenbank from Creswick, who was the Citizen of the Year, Miss Matilda Hill from Clunes, who was the Young Citizen of the Year, and the Daylesford District Horticultural Society for their community event of the year. In addition to this, council have been involved, all councillors and council staff have been involved in the various community engagement activities to help underpin and inform the community engagement policy that the Hepburn Shire is developing. And I thank the staff for their involvement in this, but also all the members of the community who have contributed, responding either to the pop-ups, coming to or completing the survey. And finally, just to report that the councillors are undertaking a process and working on the process towards recruiting a new CEO, but have confidence in the way the senior, Mr. Bradley Thomas is the acting CEO, and the senior executive staff are continuing to manage council business and support council laws and our decision-making processes during this time. So thank you. That's the Mayor's report this evening. Item 9.2, councillor report. Councillor Halliday, you wish to make a report?
I do, thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 25th of January, I attended the Australia Day Eve ceremony. I would like to congratulate the council officers on a wonderful event and thank the members of Cameron Ward who participated in the evening. Congratulations to Matilda Hill, who was awarded Young Citizen of the Year 2021 for her extensive volunteer work in our community. Congratulations also goes to Warren Wiggins, who has become an Australian citizen after living here for 20 years. On the 26th of January, there were 2 community events arranged in Cameron Ward. The Mayor and I attended both events, which had fantastic community participation. I was honoured to speak at the Mount Beckworth Walk and had the surprise job of leading the group in song. I was proud that the Aboriginal flag was lowered to half-mast in Clunes and Daylesford to acknowledge that Australia Day is a day of mourning for Aboriginal Australians. I commenced my Friday pop-up day, not a pop-up, I'm getting myself mixed up, my Friday pop-in day at Clunes Senior Citizens Building on the 5th of February, and I'm pleased that 3 people have already attended. I intend to also make myself accessible in Smeaton, and I'm working with some residents to ascertain the most suitable times. I have also started a regular column in the Clunes Community News. I hope you all enjoy the column, and your feedback is very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Councillor Halliday. Councillor Henderson? You're muted. Yeah, right.
I didn't. I had actually unmuted myself, Madam Mayor. Somebody muted me again. I actually attended the Australia Day event, as always, in Daylesford, and perhaps I won't go over the things that you have, but it was good to see people welcome to our country, some new people welcome to our country, and the acknowledgement of the distress that many feel on the day, and also to see those families come along to support those that were made new residents. In Creswick, it was a fairly boisterous affair, I must say. The community groups got together at the last minute. It did look like no one was going to run the event, but the groups stepped up, and we had too numerous to mention community groups and individuals involved in running that. It was a very successful day, and I thank you, Madam Mayor, for attending. We also had former councillor Bill McClenaghan there to sing the anthem, which was very much well received by people gathered. I also attended the pop-ups in Creswick and one in Daylesford, and it's really good to see that the people there actually turned out and had plenty to say about what they thought we needed to do to communicate. It was also an opportunity for people to actually raise some other issues. When we had officers and councillors there all in the one spot, they didn't just raise that, they raised questions about dogs and cats and all sorts of things, which points to the fact that the sessions that we have planned around the Shire, where people can just go and speak casually to our officers, is a good thing. Perhaps on a note, we did have a couple of people come to the pop-ups who complained about dogs, and I've been keeping particular note. And there does seem to be an increase in the amount of stray dogs running around, and I'm not talking about the little fluffy pooches. There are some very dangerous dogs and savage dogs on the move in and around our Shire, and people in the community are very much aware and concerned about that issue. So I think that's something that we do need to address, Madam Mayor. In closing, I'd like to once again thank all of those people that have been involved in our various functions around the Shire and on having the diligence to come along to our pop-up sessions and have their say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Hood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief. Since our last council meeting on the 22nd of December 2020, it's again been a very busy period. The standout events have been Australia Day, where we were encouraged to reflect, respect and celebrate. And I too presented at Trentham an address that seemed to be quite well received, and I congratulate the Trentham Lions Club for the function they put on that day. Also, the ongoing work to develop Council's community engagement policy has dominated in recent weeks. Interactions with the community to develop that policy are proving to be very fruitful and enlightening, and give confidence that Council can significantly improve its performance in that area. I'm also pleased to report that consultative and planning work undertaken by the Project Advisory Group for the Trentham Community Centre has resumed. That project remains my highest priority for Colaban Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Please see my report as tabled.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson. Councillor Bray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the New Year's Eve virtual or miniature parade online and participated in submitting an entry to that, which was a fantastic solution to the COVID problem of how to run a parade with social distancing restrictions. Congratulations to Jeff and Kath and all the team that worked on putting that on. It was great to be able to keep that event going, which has been running for over 100 years. I've also met with Friends of Daylesford Community Skate Park group and officers to discuss the next step in the development of the Daylesford Community Skate Park and its management plan. I had the honour and privilege to meet with the Yandoit, Franklin Ford and Clydesdale Community Planning Group, where they put on a lovely luncheon in the beautifully restored Clydesdale Hall. So lovely to be using these small community halls, which yeah, really part of our assets in our shire. We had 23 people there, all very committed to issues in their local area, and they were able to discuss with the Mayor and myself quite a few issues that are pertinent to them, such as slashing of grass, mining, recycling, the planning scheme, and also the community engagement policy. I've had various meetings with residents around various issues, things to do with planning, things to do with stormwater management throughout their town and their property. I also attended the civic ceremony in the town hall, as did the other councillors, which is a wonderful affair on the eve of the 26th of January events. On the 26th, I attended the Terra Nullius breakfast outside the town hall. We had 75 people in attendance, gathering there on Djadjurrung land to hold silence and to share thoughts on a difficult day for Indigenous peoples. On the 28th of January, I was present with the other councillors to farewell our CEO, previous CEO, Evan King, and wish him all the best in his new role at Ballarat Council. As other councillors have mentioned, there's been a lot of involvement in our community engagement pop-ups around the Shire, and that's been a real highlight, meeting with people and hearing their thoughts and capturing all that for our information to go into our community engagement policy and also our vision for the Shire. So thank you for that opportunity to give that report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. And Councillor Drylie? Councillor Drylie?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to firstly acknowledge that Aboriginal people have not ceded sovereignty over the land that we meet on today, and that Australia Day is not necessarily a day for celebration, given we've not negotiated a treaty with traditional owners. But coming out of our holiday period, it's been a busy time of community engagement for council, and the first that I was involved with was with the community engagement policy, and we've been seeking quite a lot of community input on this. Practically, this meant I've attended several community pop-up events to help foster a greater level of community participation in council decisions. In a broader context, council has been extending its community reach online with the release of Participate Hepburn website. The website is also a contact point for the newly announced Hepburn Together project, which encompasses our community engagement policy, our 10-year community vision, our 4-year council plan, our financial plan and asset plan. We really will be busy shaping the future together this year, and we need you, our community, to be a key partner in this going forward, so we set the direction as a shared one. On a more local note, I've been working on several Creswick Ward constituent issues and encourage anyone to contact me to discuss any matters, big or small. I've recently set up an office at the Creswick Neighbourhood Centre. I'll make myself available and accessible to regular consultation times during the week, either in person, by phone, or via virtual meeting space as required. Where possible, I'll also host a monthly community gathering to receive feedback and suggestions more broadly. Keep an eye on my councillor Facebook page for updates, or contact me via my phone or email for further details. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Drylie. So the recommendation is that Council receives and notes the Mayor's and Councillors' reports I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Simpson, seconded, I didn't see that, Councillor Henderson. Thank you. All those in favour? So those voting in favour are Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryly and myself. Thank you. So the motion is carried unanimously. Now we move on to the Chief Executive Officer's report. Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and our full report will be tabled in tonight's council meeting minutes. Just a couple of items that I would like to mention. Obviously been a very busy time for the organisation since returning from the Christmas leave break, particularly with the launch of Participate Hepburn and the Hepburn Together project. Thoroughly encourage all members of our community to sign up to Participate Hepburn, where you'll get continued project updates and more information and be able to be part of your community and informing councillors around items. Obviously, troubling times for us at the moment as we enter into the circuit breaker. We're really hoping that this is a short-term required fix. We know a number of people are struggling, particularly our business community. Please be rest assured that council will continue to advocate on behalf of our community and do all that we can do to sort of support the recovery for the Hepburn Shire area. And last item I just wanted to mention was next Tuesday night we will have a special council meeting where council will consider its community engagement policy. So all that fantastic work that we've heard from over 325 people and surveys through the Hepburn Together Stage 1 will come to fruition with a community engagement policy being available to the community. And hopefully the community sees this as a really powerful step forward. So tabling my interim CEO's report, Madam Mayor, and there's an officer's recommendation in front of you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Are there any questions of Mr. Thomas? Then the recommendation is that Council receives and notes the interim Chief Executive Officer's report for February 2021. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Do I have a mover? Councillor Bray, and seconded Councillor Simpson. All those in favour, raise your hand. Those voting in favour are Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryly and myself. So the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We're now on to item 10, which is quality community infrastructure. 10.1 is the award of Hepburn RFT 2020.73 Wheelers Bridge Civil Design Services contract. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Bruce Lucas, the Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, to introduce the report. Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of the report is for Council to ratify the awarding of the contract for the Wheelers Bridge Civil Design Services and consider also the awarding of variations to that existing contract. I say existing contract, councillors. This contract was awarded under officer delegation in September 2020, and the contract value after a formal public tender process was within officer's delegation and awarded accordingly. As the design process has moved forward, there are a number of additional variations that have been recommended in order to mitigate construction risks, and they will then tip the contract value over the officer's financial delegation, hence the report to council tonight. The additional unforeseen variations to significantly reduce that potential construction risk are covered within the project budget allocation and can be accommodated within those current budgets. Councillors, there is a recommendation on page 9 of the papers tonight, which reads in 3 parts, and I will read it out, that Council 1, ratify the previously awarded contract for Wheelers Bridge Civil Design Services to DGM Group Proprietary Limited for the sum of $111,050 ex GST. Approves variations to that contract for the sum of $26,300 ex GST for the additional geotechnical and hydrological works. And 3, authorise council officers to make additional changes or variations to the contract within officer delegation and approved budgets.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Does anyone have a question of Mr. Lucas about his report? No? In which case I'm in search of a motion along the lines of the councillor recommendation. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Henderson, seconded Councillor Halliday. Thank you. All those in favour, raise your hand. So those in favour are Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryelly and myself. So the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.2 is the 2021 Community Infrastructure Stimulus Round 2 Program, Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion. And I would like to introduce Mr. Andrew Burgess, the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services, to introduce this report. Mr. Burgess.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. This report seeks Council's endorsement to submit the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion redevelopment project to round 2 of the Sport and Recreation Victoria Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program, and to refer Council's co-contribution to the proposed 2021-2022 Capital Works budget, pending a successful funding submission outcome. Councillors, the redevelopment of the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion is a key priority identified by the Trentham Sports Ground Master Plan, which was adopted at Ordinary Council meeting on the 15th of September 2020. The schematic designs for the Trentham Sports Ground have been developed, and that project was endorsed to progress the design to a delivery-ready design package at the 15th September 2020 Ordinary Council meeting. Councillors, importantly, Council has been invited to resubmit this project to the Community Sports and Infrastructure Stimulus Program through Sport and Rec Victoria Round 2. Not all projects who were submitted in Round 1 have been invited to reapply. This project was submitted in Round 1 and was unsuccessful, but it has been deliberately invited by Sport and Rec Victoria to be resubmitted for consideration under Round 2, which is quite significant. The anticipated cost of this project, councillors, is $2.47 million, and Council's request for funding from Sport and Rec Victoria is $2.1 million. There is currently in Council's budget of 2021 $200,000, and again a Council contribution, if this funding is successful, funding application is successful, will be requested and recommended to be put into the 21-22 budget of $212,000, which makes up the balance of the project funding. So councillors, the recommendation is that Council notes a funding submission be made for the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion redevelopment, totaling $321,000 to Sport and Rec Victoria's Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program Round 2 to assist with the delivery of this project. And second, refers to the 2021-22 budget additional council funding for the Trentham Sports Ground redevelopment of $212,971, subject to the successful funding of the project through Sport and Recreation Victoria's funding program. And three, notes that the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion redevelopment project meets the required funding criteria of the Sport and Recreation Victoria Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program, including project readiness to commence construction within 6 months of the funding approval.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Burgess? Councillor Bray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Burgess, can you tell us, this is a project that's already come up before Council in the past, what level of consultation or engagement has there been on the plans for the Trentham community when this was first proposed?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it is my understanding that this plan has been was part of the master planning process that was conducted out with the Trentham Community Council of Bray. I can't give you exact details of when that was, but I can absolutely confirm that this project was part of that master planning process for that, that community, and had community contribution and consultation as part of that.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Anyone else got any questions of Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess, I note that the Disability Advisory Committee was recently consulted about the design of this as well and gave their imprimatur to it. I'm in search of a motion as per the officer's recommendation that Mr. Burgess has read out. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Hood, seconded Councillor Halliday. Councillor Hood, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I firstly note that this critically important project will have about 80% funding through the grant if it is successful, only 20% through council funds. I can assure my colleagues that there has been extensive consultation with the Trentham community in putting together this master plan. It is a hugely popular and very much needed project. The sports facilities at Trentham are very much antiquated, very much in need of this upgrade. The football, netball and cricket clubs are very well used and populated by all sections of the community and all age groups. And I strongly recommend this proposal to my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillor Halliday, did you want to speak to the motion?
I just briefly want to say I support this motion and the proposal. I do believe that Trentham is a little bit behind in its infrastructure, and I think we need to bring it up to standard. So I hope that we're successful in this grant and that we can achieve this for the Trentham community.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday. Is there any one who wants to speak for the motion? Councillor Henderson, you'll have to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I've been on this council a long time and I've seen some of these sports grounds updated. I suppose the first in my time was back, it seems like we've had a recent iteration down at Creswick, but 2009, we had our sports ground updated. We got the Lindsay Park. We fought pretty hard and we had a few failures on the Vic Park over at Dalesford, and finally, by annoying governments and putting submissions before them, we finally got it funded. I mean, we did have election promises and then the government didn't get elected, so we finally got there. And Trentham is the next. Now, I can't possibly think what anyone would think by not having these facilities. We can't have people having sport out of third world facilities these days, because it affects the ability for them to compete in the leagues where they are. The leagues where they play football expect their grounds to be up to a certain standard. They expect their amenities to be up to a certain standard. And aside from the fact that Trentham might be down in infrastructure, which it is, there's an opportunity here to do more than just sports infrastructure. This is about giving the community a real boost. And I know that Vic Park is used by more people other than footballers and cricketers, and so is Creswick. It's used for weddings, funerals, all sorts of things and gatherings. So I think that this is a much needed thing, and I'd like to see everybody get their share around the Shire. So I really commend this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Is there anyone else wanting to speak in favour of the motion? Anyone want to speak against the motion? No, then I'll put the motion as read out by Mr. Burgess. That Council note 1, note of funding submission will be made for the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion redevelopment to Sport and Recreation Victoria's Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program Round 2 to assist with the delivery of the project. 2 refers to the 2021-22 budget, additional council funding for the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion redevelopment, $112,971, subject to the successful funding of the project through Sport and Recreation Victoria's Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program Round 2, and notes that the Trentham Sports Ground Pavilion redevelopment project meets the required funding criteria of the Sport and Recreation Victoria Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program. So all those in favour? So that's Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryley and myself. So the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.3, an update of the Hepburn Hub at the Rex project, and I'll hand over to Mr. Bruce Lucas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on the project against the project plan as endorsed on the 18th of February 2020 and as amended on the 15th of September 2020 when Council awarded the contract for construction. Councillors, there's not a lot to report. I will identify that as at the end of January, but these being monthly reports, that the Project Control Group advises that the project scope remains unchanged, the expenditure budget remains unchanged, and the date for practical completion remains unchanged. It is pleasing, councillors, that we have handed over the site and issued a notice to proceed to the contractors in accordance with the contract. The contractors now have legal possession of the site. There have been a number of meetings on site between officers and the contractors, and we are eagerly awaiting the start of construction activities on the site. I'll take the rest of the report as read, and the officer's recommendation is that council receives and notes the project update report regarding the Hepburn Hub at the Rex project.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Are there any questions of Mr. Lucas? No, then I'm in search of a motion as that council receives and notes the project update report regarding the Hepburn Hub at the Rex project. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bray, do I have a seconder? Councillor Halliday. Councillor Bray, do you want to speak to them? Thank you. Do you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's appropriate to hear these updates regularly, and there is more detail, as you say, in the report. I think it's important that the community hear transparently what's happening at the Rex, and so I support that we are getting these updates on a regular basis. So thank you for presenting that, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. Councillor Halliday?
I don't have any comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does anyone else want to speak in support of the motion? Against the motion? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour that the council receives and notes the project update report regarding the Hepburn Hub at the Rex project. All those in favour, Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray and Councillor Dryley and myself. So the motion is passed unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.4, minutes of community asset committees. And I'd like to introduce again Mr. Andrew Burgess, the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services, to introduce the report. Mr. Burgess.
Through you, Madam Mayor. This is an administrative report. The purpose of the report is for council to note the minutes from council's community asset committees. Councillors, I would like to note that it has been great to see a number of our community asset committees being able to actually come together after COVID. Obviously, we've had a little bit of a pause on that, but we hope that it will continue again in the very near future. Councillors, the recommendation is that council receives and notes the minutes of the community asset committees, which have been distributed to all councillors. I'll go through those minutes, which are the Creswick Museum Community Asset Committee AGM 18 November 2020, the Creswick Museum Community Asset Committee General Meeting 18 November 2020, the Drummond Hall Community Asset Committee AGM 26 November 2020, the Drummond Hall Community Asset Committee General Meeting 26 November 2020, the Lee Medlin Home of Bottles Community Asset Committee General Meeting on the 21st of December 2020, and the Lionville Hall Community Asset Committee General Meeting on the 22nd of December 2020, in the Lionville Hall Community Asset Committee General Meeting on the 19th of January 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Are there any questions of Mr. Burgess on his report? In which case, I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Simpson, seconded Councillor Dryly. Councillor Simpson, do you want to speak to the motion? You're muted.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dryly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anyone want to, thank you. Anyone want to speak against the motion? In which case I'll put the motion as read out by Mr. Burgess. All those in favour? That we note those minutes that, so all those in favour, Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Simpson and myself. So the motion is carried unanimously. I'd now like to move for 11.1, Active Engaged Communities, Proposed Gender Equity Committee. And again, I'd introduce Mr. Burgess as the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services to introduce this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councillors. Council currently has a White Ribbon Committee and International Women's Day Committee, which includes a Heather Mutimer honour roll. And it's recommended to merge these committees to form a new Gender Equity Committee that will have an internal-external working group and will be responsible for developing and implementing an agreed action plan. Councillors, it's noted that both previous committees provided an advisory role to Council, and it would be expected that the new Gender Equity Committee would also provide that role. It's important to note, Councillors, that the Victorian Gender Equality Act 2020 was enacted in February 2020 and comes into effect in March this year. That Act aims to include gender equality in workplaces across the Victorian public sector, which of course includes our Council. Those obligations under that Act include developing and implementing a gender equality action plan. Councillors, it's put that the formation of a Gender Equity Committee will ensure Council's statutory obligations and community expectations are being met on this important societal issue. The aim of the Gender Equity Advisory Committee would be to provide Council with advice on improving gender equity within the Hepburn Shire community, actively encourage women's full and equal participation in community life, support an end to violence against women and children in all forms, and continue to promote and advocate by hosting and partnering with community organisations, including White Ribbon and the 16 Days of Activism events, supporting and encouraging and celebrating the LGBTIQA+ community and inclusion around that, celebrating and inspiring women through the Heather Mutimer International Women's Day Honour Roll, and to also ensure, as I said, that we are meeting our obligations under the Gender Equality Act of 2020. Councillors, if we undertake a Gender Equity Committee, Council will then undertake expressions of interest to seek representatives from an external working group from our community to assist with developing and achieving the outcomes of an action plan, an annual action plan. Councillors, it's been put that there is a clear and common overlap between the White Ribbon Committee and International Women's Day Committee, we also have the Hepburn Shire Act at Work Action Plan and a leadership statement. Strong feedback has been received over the past couple of years due to a number of reasons, including availability of our community members. Volunteering is a huge community issue. That both the White Ribbon and International Women's Day committees have had challenges with committee member retention and also active participation. That is not a criticism, councillors, that is an observation of what we've seen with these two committees. That's had a significant impact on the activities undertaken and also puts a further strain on council resources that are there to support those two committees to be able to effectively be actioned within our community. Council now has an opportunity through the creation of a new Gender Equity Committee to reinvigorate both those committees, and the terms of reference, importantly for the new committee, would include scope to ensure that the Heather Mutimer honour roll remains in place as it should be, as a very important piece of our community fabric. Councillors, officers recommend the council approves the disbanding of the current White Ribbon and International Women's Day committees, approves the formation of a new Gender Equity Committee, appoints a councillor as the councillor representative on the committee and to act as the chair of the committee, notes the public expression of interest process will be undertaken to nominate members, and members appointed at a members will be appointed at a subsequent ordinary meeting of council, and provides a written acknowledgement of the involvement and commitment to the members of the White Ribbon and International Women's Day committees. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Are there any questions of Mr. Burgess? Councillor Brain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Burgess, my question is, have the members of the White Ribbon Committee and the International Women's Day Committee been consulted about changes of the potential disbanding? And if so, what is their feedback?
Through Madam Mayor, yes, they have been advised that this report was coming to council, Councillor Bray. The feedback, it wasn't personally to me, but I've been advised the feedback from Heather Newton was that, yeah, she was not supportive of that course of action. But in relation to both the other committees, the former Councillor Redwood had chaired the committee for a number of years and was very supportive of this approach, is what I've been advised. And just so you're aware, 2 years ago, we had in the International Women's Day Committee, we had a committee of 8. Last year, we were down to a committee of 6, and they were asked at the end of their term who would be interested in reapplying for this year. And we had one committee member indicate interest in reapplying. So we've had a significant drop away of committee members in relation to International Women's Day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Burgess. Any other questions of Mr. Burgess? Then, councillors, I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Henderson.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I wish to move that 1, we disband the White Ribbon Committee. 2, approves the formation of the Gender Equity Committee. 3, appoints Councillor Leslie Hewitt to the committee to act as chair of the committee. 4, notes that a public expression of interest process will be undertaken to nominate members and appoint members at a subsequent meeting of council.
Right, thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bray. Thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak in favour of the motion?
Yes, I would, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I know that our officers are saying that there's some sort of a correlation between all of these issues, and in some ways there are. But this International Women's Day event is an event. It is not the same as having gender equality in a workplace. It's nothing to do with that. And it's to do with the recognition of women and the things that women have done to advance the cause of women. You know, people sometimes think that women are equal. Well, they're equal in number in the Hepburn Shire because there's 53% of those of our population are women. And I think a little bit of special attention paid to a group of people who over hundreds of years, and probably thousands of years, but hundreds of years certainly in this country, have been second-class citizens in some people's eyes. There are some women who are very equal, and there are some women who have stood out in defence of their fellow gender people. So that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating those women who stood up for the oppressed, those people who stood up for those in need. And if anyone thinks that women are equal in this society, they need to take a look at the jobs and the pay rates, because women still are doing many of the most menial tasks and lowest paid jobs in society. So I'm looking at ways, and look, I accept that there's something broken about these things, and you know, if our infrastructure department isn't delivering projects, we don't say get rid of them. We say let's find a way to fix it, and that's what I'm seeking here. I think that if we turn our mind to it, we can and determine we can do these things. I'm not singling out the infrastructure department. It could be anybody. I'm just merely using that as an example. But this is something that we really need to see that it not only goes on, but it's actually representative. I would hate to think that we form a committee and we don't get any women to apply, if that's what's been said, but we get a heap of people who fully understand what it is to be LGBTIQA plus, or that we needn't be having women and children, or men for that matter, the subject of domestic violence. So it's quite a different thing. And yes, we do need to include women's rights and equity, but not in this way. And I think we need to find ways to keep this committee going. The name, we are one of the leaders still in rural councils to be celebrating this. And we should be very proud of the fact that we have started it, and we need to keep it going, and in a form that it always has been. I'm prepared to work very hard to get women onto that committee. It was broken. It was broken in 2009, and I chaired that committee for quite some time, until such time as it got back on its feet. And well, now it might be a little bit broken again. Well, I think if we all put our best foot forward, as we should, on behalf of the women in our shire, then we can make this work. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Bray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just say that I do support the formation of a Gender Equity Committee for all the reasons that Councillor Henderson mentioned. I just feel that disbanding the Heather Mutimer Honour Roll and International Women's Day Committee to absorb it into that committee may not be the best outcome. As Councillor Henderson suggested, they're fairly somewhat aligned in terms of themes, but in terms of practice, there's some quite big differences there. And also in terms of the makeup of the community members that would want to be on those committees. So I see that they're two distinct things, and I would support the motion to maintain the Heather Mutimer Honour Roll and International Women's Day Committee as a separate entity, but to set up the Gender Equity Committee, absorbing the White Ribbon group.
Thanks, Councillor Bray. Does anyone else want to speak in favour of the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll speak in favour of this motion. I too see a difference between the award function and the ongoing work of the Gender Equity Committee and the White Ribbon work that is critically important. I think there's a difference there, and it should be kept separate for the Heather Mutimer Awards. I note that council officers are trying to merge committees together, perhaps to make them more efficient or effective, and I applaud that. But I think in this case it should be kept separate. And okay, we have a challenge by the sounds of it to get the appropriate number and background of people onto that committee, but that's a piece of work that will just need to be done. But I also note too that if past recipients of that award and the person who it's named after are uncomfortable with that move and they too see a difference, then I'm very empathetic to that view. So I support the motion that's been put by Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Anyone? Councillor Halliday?
I just also briefly wanted to say I support this motion as if I had created a committee and with an intention and felt that by combining it with another committee, it would lose its focus and I wouldn't function any longer, then I'm really pleased that everyone is actually listening to that and respecting Heather's opinion on this. So that's really wonderful to see, and I support the motion also. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Halliday. Anyone else? Anyone want to speak against the motion? All right, in which case I'll put the motion as read out. Ms. Fort, do you want me to read it out again, or do you want to put it up on the screen again so people can see it? So you've got it there. It approves the disbanding of the current White Ribbon Committee, approves the formation of the Gender Equity Committee, appoints Councillor Leslie Hewitt to the committee as the councillor representative on the committee and to act as the chair of the committee, and notes that a public expression of interest process will be undertaken to nominate members and appoint members at a subsequent meeting of council. I have for all those in favour, raise their hand. All those, so there's Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Dryling, Councillor Simpson, and myself. So the motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Now, item 11.2, councillor representation on the Hepburn Shire Health and Wellbeing Working Group. And again, Mr. Burgess, the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services, to introduce the report.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. Councillors, Council has a legislative requirement to have a municipal health and wellbeing plan. An external working group, an external working group for the Hepburn Shire Health and Wellbeing Plan Working Group was established in 2020. It includes representation from 10 organisations, including Council. Council now has the option to appoint a councillor representative to that group to support the implementation of the Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan 2017 to 2021 and the development of the next 4-year plan. That report details on the member of working group and the working, councillors, this report details the members of the working group and the working group aims. I take that report as read, and that the recommendation, councillors, is that council appoints a councillor to act as councillor representative to the Hepburn Shire Health and Wellbeing Working Group.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Are there any questions of Mr. Burgess? Then the motion is that councillor appoints Councillor Tessa Halliday as to act as a councillor representative to the Hepburn Shire Health and Wellbeing Working Group. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Do I have a move? Moved Councillor Bray, seconded Councillor Henderson. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bray, do you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Tess will make a wonderful representative on the Health and Wellbeing Working Group. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson? Anyone else want to speak in favour? Anyone want to speak against? All those in favour, raise your hand. That's Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryling, and myself. So the motion's passed, carried unanimously. And congratulations, Councillor Halliday, on being appointed to the Hepburn Shire Health and Wellbeing Working Group. Now it's item 11.3, minutes of advisory committees. And again, I will introduce Mr. Andrew Burgess, the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services, to introduce the report.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this again is an administrative report for Council. The purpose of this report is for Council to note the minutes and recommendations received from Council advisory committees. The recommendation is that Council receives and notes those minutes for the following advisory committees: the Public Art Advisory Committee, 18 June 2020, the Public Art Advisory Committee, 10 August 2020, the Public Art Advisory Committee, 13 August 2020, Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee, 7 December 2020, and the Mineral Springs Reserve Advisory Committee, 14 December 2020. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Any questions of Mr. Burgess? No. So I'm in search of a motion that we receive and note the minutes of those advisory committees. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bray.
Madam Mayor, I would like to move that the council receives and notes the minutes of the following advisory committees: the Public Arts Advisory Committee, 18th June, Public Arts Advisory Committee, 10th of August, Public Arts Advisory Committee, 13th of August, and the Mineral Springs Reserve Advisory Committee, 14th of December.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Oh, wait a minute, I've got to read that out. Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryling and myself. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 12.1, the Development and Community Safety Report. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Lucas, the Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this monthly report is to provide an update to councillors on the activities in the building, environmental health, community safety and planning units of council. Councillors, I will take the report as read by and large. I would like to take the opportunity though just to make a couple of highlights if you'll indulge me for a moment. And they are to acknowledge that councillors at the 1 December council meeting requested some additional information to be inserted into this report around our building services and outstanding building permits and processing times and the like. There are some challenges around extracting that data out of our IT systems and manually having to process that, and also extracting some information from our planning systems around the Section 173 agreements and details of VCAT appeals and some benchmarking around that. Again, some challenges trying to manually extract that data. We are working towards inserting that information in this report for future meetings as requested. And the other highlight, Madam Mayor, if I can, is just around the infringements and the work in our community safety team to identify that you may note in there that there were 38 infringements issued for this reporting period. Just to highlight that they primarily centre around compliance with fire prevention notices in the lead up to the fire season and the removal of hazards by property owners. Fairly standard sort of numbers. We generally get around about the 10% non-compliance. Our follow-up inspections then where non-compliance continues usually results in some level of infringement. That's what the majority of those relate to. There is a recommendation on page 106 of your agendas, which that council receives and notes the Development and Community Safety Report for information.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Are there any questions of Mr. Lucas? No, then I'm in search of a motion that council receive and note the Development and Community Safety Report for information. Do I have a mover? And it's moved Councillor Hood, seconded Councillor Halliday. Councillor Hood, do you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Halliday, do you want to speak to the motion? No. Then anyone want to speak against the motion? Then I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray and Councillor Dryling. So the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 12.2, the annual plan, the 2020-2021 Q2 update. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Bradley Thomas, the interim CEO, to introduce the report. Mr. Thomas.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think I'll be taking that one on behalf of
sorry, that's my
CEO.
Right.
Councillors, this attached report provides a list of projects included in the annual plan 2020-21 and a progress comment that has been provided for each of those projects by the responsible officer for the period up until December 31 last year. The annual plan details to the organisation, councillors and the community how our council will monitor progress towards actions in that council plan, and the quarterly progress report updates councillors and the community on the progress of those actions. The attached report provides that list of projects, and a progress comment has been provided for each project by a responsible officer. I take it as read, councillors, that the report has been read by council. What I will bring council's attention to is that Q2 coincided with council elections and inductions, and that significant officer time and resource had been dedicated to support councillors through that process as well. Councillors, the recommendation is that council notes the annual plan 2020-21 Q2 updates and notes that this report will be published on the council's website.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Are there any questions? Councillor Bray?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's more of a statement. It was just to say that the new formatting for the council, the annual plan, with the columns that indicate if a project has started, is progressing, has been delayed in the traffic light colours, is really appreciated by councillors, and I think will also be appreciated by the community when it goes up on the website, because it's very clear to read and it's easy to see where we're tracking with all our various projects. So to the team that put that together, thanks very much. Really appreciate that work.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. Are there any other questions of Councillor Mr. Burgess? No, then I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendation that council notes the annual plan 2020-2021 Q2 updates and notes that this report will be published on council website? Moved Councillor Dryly, seconded Councillor Henderson. Councillor Dryly, do you want to speak to the motion?
I'd like to reflect Councillor Bray's comments regarding the traffic light system. It's made it a lot easier to identify projects that are going ahead on as scheduled, and to highlight some of the other ones that are, may have some other issues that we can identify, and to keep on track. Obviously, there's a huge number of projects that the council manage all at once. And it's really great for the community to be able to have a snapshot of what's going on in our shire, and appreciate the work that's gone into this to get it to this point.
Thank you, Councillor Dryly. Councillor Henderson? No. Anyone want to speak against the motion? All right, in that being the case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. So the motion's carried unanimously. Item 12.3, recommendations from the Audit and Risk Committee held on the 21st of December 2020. My notes say the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services. So, Mr. Burgess.
Your notes are correct, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Good.
The purpose of this report is for Council to consider advice from the Audit and Risk Committee meeting that was held on the 21st of December 2020. The Audit and Risk Committee was established by Council Resolution on the 25th of August 2020 in line with Section 53 of the Local Government Act. The committee operates in line with the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020 and the adopted Audit and Risk Committee Charter for the Hedman Shire Council. For transparency and accountability purposes, a public set of meeting minutes from the meeting held on 21st December 2020 is attached to this report. The recommendation, councillors, is that council receives the draft minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting that was held on the 21st December 2020, and notes the recommendations and resolutions of the Audit and Risk Committee that were moved at the meeting on 21 December 2020 and that are detailed in the body of this council report, and notes the annual assessment of the Audit and Risk Committee against the Audit and Risk Charter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Are there any questions of Mr. Burgess? No, thank you. Then I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Hood moves the motion. Okay, you're muted, Councillor Hood.
Sorry, yes. I'd like to move the three points that Mr. Burgess has just read out in the recommendation, and I'd like to add a point 4, which is to appoint independent member Mr. Travis Shard as the Audit and Risk Committee Chairperson to the 2021 calendar year, and thank him for his services as Chairperson during 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Henderson. Councillor Hood, do you want to speak in favour of the motion?
No, I don't think that's required. I think it's quite straightforward, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. Councillor Hood. Councillor Henderson? No? Anyone want to speak against the motion? No, then I'll put the motion as read by Councillor Hood, that Councillor receives the draft minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. It was held on the 21st of December, that we note the recommendations and resolution of the Audit and Risk Committee that were moved at the meeting on the 21st of December, and they're detailed in the body of this council report, that we note the annual assessment of the Audit and Risk Committee against the Audit and Risk Charter, and that we appoint independent committee member Mr. Trevor Shard as the Audit and Risk Committee Chairperson for the 2021 calendar year, and thank him for his services as Chairperson during 2020. All those in favour? So that's Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday and Councillor Dryly. Anyone against? In which case I declare that the motion's been carried unanimously, and we'll move on to item 12.4, records of councillor attendance. And again, it's the Acting Director of Community and Corporate Services, Mr. Andrew Burgess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, the purpose of this report is for Council to receive and note records of councillor attendance, formerly known as Assemblies of Councillors records required. Assemblies of Councillors records required to be presented under provisions of the Local Government Act 1989. Recommendation, councillors, is that Council receives and notes the records of councillor attendance. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Are there any questions of Mr. Burgess on this matter? No, in which case I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? A mover first. Councillor Hood. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson. Councillor Hood, do you want to speak in favour of the motion? When you're saying no, could people please unmute themselves so people can hear? Councillor Hood? No?
No, I don't need to speak to that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillor Henderson?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. So any other councillor want to speak to the motion? Against the motion? In which case I'll put the motion. The council receives and notes the record of councillor attendance. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Okay, so that's Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Bray and Councillor Dryly. That there being nobody against the motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. There being no other items on the agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 7:44, and I would just like to thank the council officers for their attendance. I would like to thank the two members of the community who addressed council and the other members of the community who put in questions for their participation. We appreciate it and thank you very much. And thank you, fellow councillors, for your exceptionally good behaviour in sticking to timelines and getting us through the meeting. So thank you all very much. And Mr. White, if I ask you to close the meeting, thank you.
Madam Mayor.